Looks like there's another wrench in the whole plans for Project Marvel. And does he have a shot at getting Coach of the Year?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kins 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you had a great weekend. And we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Be sure to subscribe at the YouTube page. What else you got? iTunes, Spotify, the Kins 5 Plus app, obviously YouTube. So many platforms. Go subscribe to Locked On Spurs right now. Leave a comment. You might read it in a future episode, like this one maybe. Well, more of that in a bit. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You want to download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. What are we talking about today? Project Marvel again. Not trying to beat a dead horse, but since last Friday, since we recorded that day till now, there was a big development, and it revolving around the San Antonio mayor. She pretty much doubled down, and she put a lengthy statement out for the public, detailing why she wants Project Marvel to take a pause. Not a stop, just a pause. Does she have legit points? Is this a bad move on her part? Is it going to hurt the Spurs moving forward? We'll get into all that in a bit. And again, we'll have that statement for y'all to read it in just a few seconds. And then Coach of the Year, Rich Johnson? Yeah, can the technically rookie NBA head coach get the Coach of the Year award? Vegas thinks he has a shot. We'll just discuss that. And if time permitting, we'll get into some Locked On Spurs fan comments again if we have time for that. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is back, everybody. Starting off Monday. Look at you. Raul Dominguez did this. He ended last week with us. Then he starts this week with us. That's a great bookend there. He is with the AP Sports. Be sure to follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. Raul, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Thanks for having me. I'm gearing up for the training camp.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, and by the way, I mean, it also made sense too, because Friday we talked about Project Marvel, and since that day, I think it was that evening, once we released the show. Well, no, it was the night before. So we recorded on a Thursday. That's right. And at that night, that's when all blank got loose because the mayor put out a personal statement. We'll get that in just a few minutes. And then, Raul, it just feels like, like she doubled and tripled down on her position. Now, we want to make this very clear. Project Marvel did not stop. Project Marvel's not on pause right now. She's requesting a pause. So we're going to discuss that right now. Raul, why don't we get the statement out first? So everybody can read it here. We're going to leave it on the screen because it's a lengthy notice or press release she put out there. And she went into detail. I'm going to put the bullet points. Check it out for yourself, everybody. There it is right there. Y'all can read that there. Maybe put it on pause. Y'all can read it in detail. But I'm just going to read just a quick quote from here. Quote, based on yesterday's San Antonio City Council meeting, I believe we need a strategic pause in our negotiation with the Spurs. This is I can barely read that, treatment or investment. I'm sorry, I need glasses, everybody. And we need to look at the data, need more data, basically, to move forward smartly. There's no need to act by August 21. And yeah, she goes into, as you can see on your screen here, helping, understanding the highest and best use of public land by the proposed sports entertainment district. Y'all can see it on your screen right now. She really gets into detail. And I guess sort of Spurs related, Raul, it feels like she's, as you see on your screen, she's looking at the numbers here. It's a project estimated about $1.3 to $1.4 billion arena, not district, arena. And then she goes into details about the Spurs only chipping in, I'd say only, but $500 million for it. And she goes on and on about the contribution of the Spurs. Basically, she's saying like, hey, it feels like the residents, the citizens, the city is going to be footing more of the bill than the Spurs. And then, Raul, she took a shot at the Spurs and the economic impact presentation that they gave City. And she's just saying, hey, you basically use one of your guys that do these economic impacts. That's not good enough. We need an independent economic impact, person or company to do this. Raul, you can see on your screen there in case you need some help. What do you think about this? It feels like she's really, really, really wanted to stop it. Again, pause all this And you told me before we recorded that this is just a bad move on her part.
Yeah, again, I think we had talked about it on the previous podcast. Was, I understand the need to kind of do your due diligence, but it's just a bit surprising. Again, this is Project Marble didn't come out, like yesterday. Spurs didn't just come out yesterday. Hey, we want to do this. Let's vote on it. It's been around for a while. The Spurs are working with the previous administration. The previous mayor, to do this, and I'm sure that the city and the Spurs were sort of working together as far as the details on it, and what the marketing and what the economic impact that it would have. So I don't know obviously I don't know the full details, the behind the scene details, but I think with her saying that, we'd like to have our own people do that, I'm just sort of wondering, like, was that not done before, and if not, that why? And again, like, it's just a bit odd for sort of the pause, for her calling for a pause sort of this late, like, she should do that, why not do that previously? Or, why not sort of do your due diligence while, you're kind of working through this. But it just seems odd, that they're not on the same page. Like, the thing with the Project Marble, it seems like Spurs and the city have sort of been in lockstep as far as, what they were planning, what they wanted to do. Like, it didn't seem like, the Spurs were pushing this or the city was pushing this. It seemed like, they were working together, and then now all of a sudden it seems like, hey, Mayor Ortiz Jones is saying, like, they're not working with us. So, or, hey, we need more information. Like, it just strikes me as a bit odd that after it seemed pretty harmonious, that now it appears not to be.
Yeah, and I'm reading, what she says here, and overall, if you're just an outsider, let's just say you're not a resident, you're not a Spurs fan, you're just a business person. She's not wrong, Raul. I mean, we are talking about a $1 billion plan here, project, and she even says it in here. She says the people. She's obviously talking about San Antonio, are trusting us to do our due diligence, and we should do that. Bro, she's not completely wrong, is she?
No, again, her, the mayor and the city council and the city should do their due diligence. But again, I'm just sort of puzzled by the fact that, it seems like she's saying that hasn't been done, or, that
exactly.
Numbers and planning have not been talked about. But as far as I know, but what we were told, especially with the other administration, that they were working together, so again, it's just a bit odd to me that this is being brought up now, and it almost seems like again, I don't know the kind of the full details, but it just almost seems like the mayor's saying, hey, we're kind of being kept in the dark, or well, we need more information, and I thought that these things were already discussed.
Yeah, I've been told that there are several organizations, companies in San Antonio that are not happy with this announcement she made last week. And I don't know if it happened or not, but supposedly there was going to be some, retorts to this by, companies and organizations, maybe people, regarding her statement about a pause on this. I did speak to one very prominent business person in San Antonio last week, and they told me that this was just a bad move. It was just a bad move, that if this happens and it goes through, and likely it will, this whole project here, that how much that, once it's all done, would just help their business. They was told that it would be like almost tenfold, 20-fold. And so businesses see this. And so when they see the mayor pushing back, again, It's I don't want to say she's pushing back, Raul, because she's not saying end this project. We're crazy. She's just, it's like, I understand. I get it. I understand it. Her job is to the city first, not to the Spurs. And she's doing what she can to make sure the money's wisely used, the land is wisely used. And she puts it in there. It's not just about the Spurs arena. Do you think we're getting away from that role, that maybe the fans, residents are not seeing the big picture? And she's right. It's not just about an arena. It's about the entire downtown area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I kind of keep going back to this. I thought this was sort of discussed. I mean, when I believe it was the mayor who previous mayor Nuremberg, who sort of unveiled the proposed layout, the art concept, and everything. I don't remember if he did it or he did it in conjunction with the Spurs, but I remember that they put out this the artist rendering of what it was going to look like. So obviously they were sort of kept in the loop or were part of the plans for this. Right. As far as what they were talking about, I think they were this was also going to be as far as if I remember correctly, expanding the convention center, adding a hotel, I think doing like a little restaurant district around the what is now Hemisphere Park. So right. I definitely understand what she's saying as far as like we need to make sure that the land is being used wisely, but again, I thought that the city and the officials from the previous administration and the Spurs had sort of mapped everything out as far as what they were going to do with it, and it seemed like a great plan, to have this, and so again, I'm a bit puzzled by this. I'm not sure on how they sort of. Again, it seemed like they were sort of walking hand in hand on this project, and now it seems like what wants to stop and sort of pause. And so, I'm just kind of curious, like where was the disconnect?
Right, exactly. You know what? Let's continue talking about this when we get back from the break. Yeah, it's a lot. I think everybody knows I live in downtown San Antonio, and I can tell you from my point of view, there's a lot of construction going on, at least in that Hemisphere Park area in downtown. So we'll talk about that just a few minutes right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez. Follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. We'll be right back talking all things silver and black. Hey, I want to talk about Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose out on your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticketing shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Hey, look, they got zone deals. Basically, they will pick the best seats for you in the section for you. You get panoramic seat views. So you can just basically see the view that you're going to be viewing at the event. No surprises. They got the Game Time guarantee that has your back with cancellation protection, so much more. And the prices you see is the prices you pay, no hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concerts and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That'll get you $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez. He's with the AP Sports. Follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco. He's such a guy. He closes last week with us here, and then he opens up this week with us, especially the roughest time, which is the off season. We're in the thick of things, man. It's not going to start. Still got another month of just literally quietness for a while, right? About another month-ish.
Yeah, it's going to start picking up, quickly. So
quickly. So enjoy at least a little 1 more month breather before it starts getting really popping with your silver and black. We're talking about Project Marvel and what happened since we last spoke about it last week on Friday. If you all don't know, the mayor of San Antonio, she put out a statement basically doubling down on her position that the city, everybody should just take a strategic pause, as she says, because she wants to do the due diligence. She also, put the Spurs to task, saying like, hey, I know y'all did your own economic impact study, but that's with one of your guys. That's one of your companies. Let's do an independent one. And she even busted out the costs. Like, wait a minute, the arena is about 1.5-ish billion. and how much you're putting in Spurs, how much is the city going to put in. So basically, that's what it's about. So again, not because we don't want to put us on video, but I think it's really important that y'all read her statement moving forward, so y'all are well informed. Again, this is the statement from the mayor of San Antonio, and here's what she had to say on why she's doubling down and saying you need a strategic pause. Bro, I live in downtown San Antonio, and it feels like you could already start seeing like the preparation for the transition. The Institute of Texas Culture, which will likely be the footprint of the new Spurs Arena, is almost like bare to nothing now. It's just a skeleton now. Don't forget they're opening up a Spurs-themed basketball court on what used to be the site of the Hemisphere Arena. I walked by the other day. It looks amazing. The Henry B. Convention, it's amazing in there. Y'all know that I host a lot of the Comic-Cons in San Antonio. I know at that facility like the back of my hand. It's 100%. Raul, if this project goes through and it passes, there'll be some growing pains, but long term, you would think that it will just benefit San Antonio. NBA All-Star Game likely returns. NCAA Final Four tournaments resume. Major concerts stop by in San Antonio. What else? Oh, yeah, businesses in San Antonio, jobs created. It makes sense. Bro, why do you think there's some pushback from fans, residents, and maybe a little bit from our mayor?
It's understandable. I mean, we're talking about, potentially millions of dollars. So obviously there's going to be some understandable pushback and some worry. People, are worried, maybe about the, possible increase in taxes, but I think it's supposed to be through bonds and through sales taxes. That's how they built up what is now the Frost Bank Center. I think a majority of the Frost Bank Center, I think, was paid through like taxes on like rental cars and hotels and things like that. So tourists, paid for a good chunk of that. But it's understandable, why maybe they're a little reticent about that. Why are we paying for an arena when they have what they think are billionaire owners or billionaire players, but this is sort of what's always been done, with sports franchise. I was kind of looking it up as far as like what the Spurs contribution is like compared to some of the other arenas that were recently built. Golden State and the Clippers both. It was 100% private funding, but the Clippers have an owner that is just some billionaires worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he wanted to kind of do his own thing. He wanted to be able to own it, 100% himself and such. Golden State did as well. Same thing with them. They have, I think a wealthy owners. And then I was looking at other things. Oklahoma City chipped in $50 million for their arena. Spurs have pledged over $1 billion, but that includes $500 for the arena, and then $500 for the adjacent development. Milwaukee says 52% private money. So what the Spurs are doing is a little higher than what some of the other ones, but then it's obviously not as high as the Clippers or Warriors. But that they are Spurs are committing some of their own money toward this. And then I also kind of looked at what you had kind of talked about as far as the impact. I was curious, and I did just a quick little research through Google, and it says that the Chase Center, which the Warriors opened in 2019, has already had, as of September 2024, had a $4.2 billion impact on the San Francisco community. So, and that's in its first 5 years. So, yes, it's going to cost money, but it's also going to bring in money as far as not just the games that are held there at the arena. Ticket sales, parking. People are probably going to stop by, especially if the Spurs and the city do a great job as far as sort of upgrading the area around it. People stop by for restaurants, bars, and sort of make a day of it. And the other thing is, that downtown's, it's been down a little bit, aside from Fiesta and things like that, when I used to work at the Express News, like the foot traffic wasn't, aside from tourists, wasn't that great. I think this could help revitalize all of downtown. Maybe make the River Center Mall, even better than what it is. More traffic to the Alamo, more traffic to the Riverwalk. Again, it's not just just the game. NBA games itself is sort of what else it brings. Someone may go to a Spurs game and say, hey, let's go to the Riverwalk. Hey, let's go check out this place or that place. So it's going to have a big impact, not just for people, strictly for what the people spend at the games, but what they spend outside the arena.
Yeah, and I also think too, if the Spurs are a good team next year, that might change a lot of feelings about it too. And there's that, fans, especially older fans like myself and you, we're like, all right, well, now you after this, while the product is down right now, wow, it's been 6 years since y'all been at least some sort of postseason play. So I think that's going to help, and we'll talk about that in a bit. The Spurs going beyond the regular season. I think that's going to help. I feel like maybe there's a little bit of hesitation on some residents because we were told the Alamo Dome was going to be multi-purpose for, at that time, it was the chase for an NFL team, and the Spurs can use it too. And we can also use it for NCAA and everything. And for a while, it was okay, but then NFL never came to San Antonio. The Spurs wanted out of the dome, and fine. So it's like, okay, we build you this dome, Spurs, and you want out. Fine. Then they built what was then the SBC Center, way out of the boondocks, and there's that, and there's no development at all, nothing. And Raul and I were not exaggerating. There's really nothing near it. The Spurs try to keep the fans in the building because they have like a backyard experience where they have concerts and there's bar and everything, but it's just not the same. And then of course there's the residents on that side of town too, Raul, that are like, hey, y'all bleeped us. You said the East Side was gonna be this spectacular spot destination in San Antonio, and nothing ever happened. So it's like, so now you want another home, Spurs, a $1 billion home. All right, there's that. So I can see why there's some hesitation on residents, because my opinion, if this thing gets done, Raul, and the $1 billion arena is made, this is their forever home, right? Right? They cannot be asking later down the road, now I need a new one.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely wouldn't, maybe 20, 30 years down the road, maybe they ask, or need another one. But, I wouldn't think that they would go anywhere for a very, very long time. But you're also talking about as far as, the Frost Bank, just sort of what's around that. Like when they had the Alamo Dome, I remember they were pitching it as this multi-purpose facility. They were even talking about it being a major league, possibly for a major league.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I remember like almost shortly after it was approved, they said, "Oh, we can't do the Major League Baseball because we have to reconfigure it, and it's not feasible." So I think in a sense, maybe it was sold on a bit of a little overhyped as far as what it could do, but Alamo Dome was still being used. City's done a great job as far as bringing in UTSA football, bringing in high school games, bringing in concerts. The staff at Alamo Dome are doing a great job, sort of adjusting the seating so it's a bit more intimate for concerts and things like that. So as much as maybe the Alamo Dome wasn't quite what people hoped it would be, it's still being used. It's still bringing in a lot of money. It's still is a facility that is used weekly. So it's more than served its purpose for especially for the money that was paid for it.
Yeah.
But then I was gonna say the other thing is with the Frost Bank. I know they had talked about developing the area around it, but I never saw any actual concrete plans on like, hey, this is what we're gonna do with this. It was more of like, hey, once we have that, then restaurants are gonna want to come here, businesses are gonna want to come here. Like it was more of like, oh, if you build it, they will come, and it was there was never any. I never got the sense there was any a thought out plan. This Spurs arena, they actually have a plan for what they want to do around it.
If I remember correctly, I think one business like a restaurant did open up. Like there was just one, and then they shut down immediately because they said everybody wants to get the F out of there when it's over. If you're there driving by San Antonio, I mean in the AT&T, Frost Center, area, and you see cars leaving late at night, that's probably me and Raul because we're probably the last ones in the rest of the media to leave the place. It clears out quick.
I think that's partially just because of how bad traffic is, but people just sort of want to get out of there. But also, there's nothing there. I'm sure if they had opened up a string of good restaurants or good bars, I know people would stay. Like I used to be a restaurant, a bar right around the corner from the AT&T called Crazy J's. I knew the owner. He sold it, but after the Spurs game, it would be pretty packed. A lot of people that went to the Spurs games would go there, and it was usually packed after Spurs games. And I think it was just because people had nowhere else to go that was nearby. I mean, no offense to Crazy J's. I love the owner. Staff was always really, really nice, real sweet. But as far as like when people would go, like there wasn't too many options, so they would go there. I think if someone had put like a nice club or a nice bar, I think people would have, gone to that. But no one ever developed that area.
No one did. I'm not kidding everybody. Across the street on one side of the arena is a soda bottling plant. Yeah, it's right across the street. And the other side is just, I believe, it's train tracks.
Yeah, and then the golf course on the other side.
And then the golf course on the other side. You would think that, but no, not really. The golf course could benefit because by the time games start and end, they're closed. So it doesn't make sense. But literally, that's all that surrounds the AT&T Center. But as far as Project Marvel is concerned, again, just to be clear, everybody, the project is not on stop. The mayor is requesting a pause. And I think that pause probably will never come. I mean, barring some sort of change, because this has to go to a vote for a pause, right? She can't just willing to say, I pause it. Nope. So surely it's a one vote, and the rest of FS people have to vote. So
yeah, and I know when she requested it, it was not approved. I think it was a 7-3 vote or something along those lines. So against a pause. So
yeah, I think it would have been interesting. It was like closer than that. I would have been whoa. Yeah. Okay. So there's a little sign there that it looks like a lot of the city council members are okay with the project moving forward. But I mean, again, this is really a big topic right now among Spurs fans. Just say that City of San Antonio. So we got to know what y'all think. What do you think about the mayor requesting for a pause right now? She said it once. She doubled down. She put out a statement. We've been flashing on the screen for you. Let us know what you think. Let Raul know on X at Dominguez Cinco. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Yeah, it's a big topic right now in the offseason. What a perfect time, too, in the offseason. That is really keeping Spurs fans engaged about the future of the Spurs and where they'll be playing in years to come. All right, coming up next, we're going to be discussing Mitch Johnson and the Coach of the Year award. Yeah, more on that in just a few seconds. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez. He's with the AP Sports. Make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez Cinco right now. And Vegas is being Vegas, everybody. They're putting out the NBA future prop bets and everything. One recent one was the next Coach of the Year. And lo and behold, Raul, coming in at number 5 is the technically rookie head coach, Mitch Johnson. Now, Jamal Mosley of the Magic, he was the number 1 pick. His odds were pretty high, but not bad for Mitch Johnson to come in with the 5th best odds of taking home that award. And you know what, Raul? I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it's that crazy to think that there's a possibility he can win it because this team looks like it's primed to make a big leap next year. Your thoughts?
I definitely think so. I think that Spurs have a chance to be a really good team. Talked to you about this before, where I think they could be a fourth or a fifth seed in the West. I genuinely believe that they could make that type of elite.
Mm-hmm.
So, they've obviously had, I think it's 6 straight seasons outside the playoffs. So, the last 2-3 years, averaging low 20s in the win. So, any sort of turnaround is obviously going to be a good thing. And the other thing is, replacing a legend like Coach Pop. It's not going to be easy. So, Mitch can sort of turn this team around their as far as their win-loss record and sort of right sort of this ship back to where some of its previous glory. Then I think he's going to get he is and he should get a lot of credit for it. So I could definitely see him winning Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Think about it. Wemby's coming in healthy. Fox is coming in healthy. So those are your two cornerstones right there. And then Dylan Harper, the rookie, he looks like he can really, really be, pushing for extended minutes, maybe starting. In other words, the Spurs have a lot of good problems they have as far as roster and minutes distribution. Think about this, too. And I had a chat about this with the Locked On Fantasy Basketball host, Josh Lloyd. We were talking about who's the Spurs starting five. And I went the usual. For me, I went to the usual suspects. I went, it's Castle, it's Fox, it's Wemby, it's Barnes, and it's Sohan. And he was like, it's interesting. He goes, I have everything except he's replacing Barnes with Vassell. He goes, even if you want to keep Barnes there, fine. He goes, I'll replace Vassell and swip them out. In other words, he just wants Vassell out there. But that's what I'm trying to say is that this team is so potent. If you need a defender at the 4, where you're probably going to have Sohan there. And here's the thing too, Sohan doesn't need the ball. After games where we get those stat sheets, you look at Sohan's numbers, you're like, what? He only had like 4 points, but then you keep on reading like, he had like 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, some free throws. You're like, okay, he's doing pretty good, good player. Or it's Vassell. Wing guy, he's knocking down the outside shot. He's knocking down the 3. He's scoring. Great. I think how much depth the Spurs have are going to add to the wins next year. In my opinion, Raul, they're no longer a young team. I think I'm going to stop saying to Vassell, you young guys, because he's a veteran now. So is Sohan. So is Keldon. So those 3 guys, they can't use the word young excuse anymore. Absolutely not. Wemby, same thing for Wemby. Not a rookie anymore. Now he's a veteran now.
Yeah, I definitely think they're still a young team. I mean, I think Oklahoma City is still, a pretty young team, but I think you could still call them a young team. But they definitely have a lot more experience, and But if you look at potentially some of the top players are 21 and under. So in terms of the NBA, they're still very young.
Yeah. And you just look. We'll just look through some pictures here. So you got Keldon coming off the bench. You'll have Stephon Castle starting likely. Then you will likely not likely. You will have this guy, the highest paid Spur right now, De'Aaron Fox, starting alongside with him. I mean, let's go. Oh, you want some veteran presence? Here you go. You get some Barnes with you there. And you need a little defense on there? Okay, well, let's go to put on Sohan out there, who looks like he's 10 years old in this picture. But the point is that they're so flippable. Like, if you need to play small ball, well, guess what? Sohan has experience at playing the 5.
Yeah.
If you need to get big, well, they got Olenek and Cornette now. I think this team is primed to really, really play beyond the 82-game slate. I'm being very lenient. I expect playing. What about you, Raul?
I expect them to have a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to need to play in. But yeah, Pop talked about it, then Mitch talked about it, and of course, Brian Wright, the GM, has talked about a lot about as far as positionless basketball, kind of how they want to develop that. Spurs have that. I mean, like you mentioned, they could go, different ways. They could play, maybe Wemby with 4 guards essentially. Castle guarded some big men last year. They could do that. They could go possibly with Wemby and Cornette playing alongside Sohan or Barnes, and then maybe have Fox and Harper or Castle as the guard. So that they have a lot of great pieces where they could interchange them, of course, then Keldon can play the wings or even play some of the big men. So I think it's going to be good for the Spurs and great for Mitch to be able to play with that lineup a little bit, and depending on the matchups and who they play, you play against Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City, starts Hartenstein and then Chet. So maybe Cornette and Wemby start alongside each other, at some points against them, or play with each other. So with each other against them. But like I said, it's Spurs have a lot of good pieces.
Do they? Yeah. And we didn't even talk about Julian Champagnie. They got a guy who can knock down the three, and he's not a bad defender. He's not great, but he's definitely not bad. He's a pretty good one. So this team is poised, and I think if they do break out, I think you have to give Mitch some credit for that. And let's not forget, too, people, they brought in Corliss Williamson and Sean Sweeney at his side. And I think those are two big acquisitions on the sidelines for the Spurs. So you put that all together, and with Mitch at the helm, and if he can guide them to beyond, I think if he gets them in a 1-6 slot, like guaranteed playoff, no play-in, he's got to be really challenging for the Coach of the Year. If he gets to the play-in route, I think he's in the mix, but he's not so much challenging. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe so too. But the one thing that's crazy is that Coach Pop, as great of a coach as he is, and regarded as the greatest coach of all time, by Benny, including myself, he only won Coach of the Year 3 times in his career.
Yeah, that's it.
To me, that's crazy. I mean, you have the greatest coach. For me, I think Pop was the greatest coach as far as not just the X's and O's, but just sort of the behind the scenes and the mental aspects of the game. But again, only 3 times, Coach of the Year 3 times, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he's got Duncan, he's got Robinson, whoever, but he was able to make that all work. And Spurs had a difficult time getting free agents to come in, or and they were always drafting at the bottom of the draft, picking up a free agent here or an undrafted player here, and Pop made it work. With Mitch, I think with Mitch, if Mitch does well, I think the fact that even though he's got the talent with Wemby and Harper and Castle, I think he'll get a little bit more respect from the voters, because they're going to see it as he's replacing a legend. So, he's obviously doing a great job.
Yeah. So overall, go ahead.
I was going to say, I hope, I don't know, like, again, to me, it's still crazy. Pop only won it 3 times. So,
I know it is wild. Yeah. And there's sometimes where I'm thinking, like, do you really want to win the Coach of the Year? Because isn't that jinxed or something? It's like cursed. Like you win it and you get fired the next season.
That's true.
Or you win it and you get bounced in the first round. It is like wild how like Coach of the Years usually get fired like the next season, or it's a very short-lived postseason. So, but nevertheless, I don't think it's at that far out of the realm of possibility for Mitch to get it or really, really challenge for it. But yeah, he got some tough competition. Mentioned Jamal Mosley in Orlando. They're going to be good. Obviously, OKC Thunder guy, Mark. I don't always pronounce his last name. Dag. Thank you. He might get it. So there's some serious contenders out there. We'll see what his. But unfortunately, guys, we can't do Locked On Spurs fan comments today. Running out of time. But we'll probably do it later on this week. So just stand by for that. But what do y'all think about Coach of the Year, Mitch Johnson, possibly a surprise winner? Let Raul know what you think about that and more, including Project Marble on his X at Dominguez Cinco. Raul, what are you working on lately?
Just sort of keeping an eye on this Project Marble, and then, counting down the days for the Spurs to, open up and get the training camp started. Like I said, it's going to be a really interesting training camp. I think you're going to see a lot of excitement from the players and obviously from the fans. I'm hoping maybe to see Pop sort of walking around the building.
That'd be fun, bro. I want to see him sitting in that suite with Timmy and Tony among that night. Whenever that happens, that's going to be huge.
That's usually they're sitting up there, and thing is, if they do that, I wonder if they're going to show Pop on camera, because I know Pop hates.
Yeah, he hates
the attention. He hates. He just To him, it's just sort of like, oh, I'm just a guy, But be interesting to see if they show him on the camera. If they do, he makes their going like this, getting mad and maybe get on the mic and say, "Stop showing me on camera."
Yeah, or maybe they just don't, because for those that know, at the Frost, there's it's not a suite, it's just like a kind of like a section, if you will, where usually a lot of the brass and former players, visiting players, former players, they sit, and it's kind of in like center court-ish, and usually that's where Timmy, Tony Amato, David, he has front court seat, so he sits on the opposite side of that. So you once in a while you'll see him in there. But anyway, but the thing is that it's so connected with the fans. Like, you can walk right past it, and it's like literally being arm length in front of him. So I don't know if they move him up maybe to a suite, a box suite, because of his condition right now. You remember the video when he came out to pass the torch to Mitch, still kind of walking gingerly, and there's a lot of steps there, a lot of stairs. So maybe they take precautions. But if he gets in that, wherever he's going to sit, if he does make an appearance at the Spurs game, it's going to be wild. And I think that'd be something to look forward to. If he doesn't, I can see him not showing up to the game next season at all, bro. Not going at all.
I think he'll go, but, as far as like making a public appearance, he may not do that. Maybe he'll go behind the scenes and stay in an office or something there. But Pop loves basketball, and he loves his team too much to me stay away. Like I'm sure he's itching to even just be around the players and to hang out with them. I know he's there a lot, I guess, for his rehab and such at the Spurs facility. But Pop loves basketball. He loves the players. The players are like sons to him. So that's going to be hard to keep him away.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to sit with us in the media section? Because usually former coaches go in there.
I'm just waiting for him to sort of see us and just yell at us, make some sort of wisecrack, that'd be.
Or just like, I can see him like walking in and everybody staring at him and go, oh, forget it, and turn right back around and leave. No, because for those who don't know, in the media dining area, now it's a snack area, I guess. Some former coaches show up. I think, was it a Doug Moe, or who am I thinking of? Who was the one that would always go in there with us? It wasn't Doug Moe.
Stan Albeck used to.
Stan Albeck, thank you. Yeah, Albeck would go in there a lot. And there was one time I was sitting at the table with him, and I just didn't recognize him. And then he started talking to me, and then I look and hit the little badge where the Spurs give out to the VIPs. And I looked, I was like, oh, it's Stan Albeck. Okay, never mind. Sorry, like I'm talking to Stan Albeck. And all he wanted to know about the dinner. He's like, what do you get to eat? What are you eating? He was just like, that. What are you getting there? So that's it. But anyway, all right, everybody. Raul, again, thank you for being the bookend with us again, closing this out last week, starting this out this week. We appreciate you coming on. And as always, everybody, make sure to follow him on X at Dominguez5. You want to do that right now. Thank you all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. If you're available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Cans 5 Plus app, YouTube, you know what to do. We'll be back later this week as the offseason continues. Again, Locked On Spurs is on part-time off-season mode right now, so maybe about 2 to 3 a week, which is great for me. But I could use a break before the season begins. But we'll definitely have something for you cooking later on this week here on Locked On Spurs. And make sure to subscribe or get your favorite podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Cans 5 Plus app, YouTube. Leave a comment. I promise you we'll get some Locked On Spurs comments the next show. All right, we'll definitely do that. And you guys are the everydayers. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.